What is up, guys? Jake McCormack, Team Snapdragons. When we first PQ of the season, gonna stay in bed and play with my cat all day tomorrow. Ugh, just not good.
What do you want? What do you want?
Snapdragons.
Snapdragons? Okay. Alright. Go Frost. Oh, that's alright.
I'll take
Kadachi's
that.
fine.
That's not too good. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Happinesses. What is up, Flesh and Blood players? Welcome to another Snapdragons video. I hope you guys enjoyed that little intro segment and gold foil opening. As you can see, this video is kind of going to be recapping my first ProQuest of the season, and unfortunately only ProQuest season event of the season, because I am not eligible to play anymore because I got first. Yeah, it's very exciting, very hectic 72 hours, as I would say. I want to kind of start this video by saying thank you to the judge for the day, Brendan Allen, all of my opponents for putting up with me because I definitely wasn't at 100% on the day, and Cardtastic Gaming and Collectibles, which was the store that hosted us for the day. So we started with 37 players for the day, before any drops or anything like that occurred in the later rounds. This was kind of a weird tournament structure, frankly. No one was kind of like aware of what we would kind of get into and what you would need to for top 8, but we just kind of played out our rounds, which is kind of my philosophy for the most part about like just playing it out. So our story for today kind of begins 3 days before the event. And honestly, maybe 2 weeks ago, when I made the intro to ProQuest video, giving lots of advice. If you haven't seen that video, I would highly recommend checking it out. I think there's a lot of really good advice in that, most of which I followed for this event. Several parts I did not, and I really regretted doing it, so I would recommend following that. Namely, I did not, one, dress for the weather, and two, I definitely did not get enough sleep beforehand. So we'll start with kind of the story of my sleep for the event. So it gets to the Thursday night before the weekend starts, and Connor McGrath, another Snapdragons team member, is really keen on playing Kassai for the calling Hamburg and like needs some help and some advice going into the weekend. Isn't totally sure about it, so naturally I was already planning on writing the Kassai Metafy guide, which is now available on our Metafy, which will be linked below. I highly recommend checking that out if you're interested in the deck. My list and all of my sideboard notes for the weekend that I used to win this ProQuest are all available there. Highly recommend picking it up. I think it's an interesting read even if you don't play Kassai. And yeah, so I kind of decided, oh, let me get the first sketch of that plan out, and let me try and get it to Connor before the Friday for him, because of time zones. It's kind of weird because I'm in Australia, he's in Europe obviously. So I start writing the guide at 11 PM on the Thursday night, and I finish writing the guide at 11 AM on the Friday. I lost track of time, and I had so much fun writing it. I hit about 6 AM, and I like looked down and I went, why is the sun out? Like, it's like midnight, right? And then I like look at it, and I've been writing for like 6 hours, and I'm like, whoa, that's not good. And then I had a few other Snapdragons from the US and from Europe join me in the call and kind of like keep me company while I finished my last few hours of writing. Shipped it to Connor, and then went to bed for like 6-7 hours, and then kind of went back to writing, editing, doing a couple of formatting things and moving it over from the Word document I wrote it into Metafy, adding some more advice that I thought was useful I might have missed while I was sleepy. I kind of got it from there. I was happy to get it to Connor in time. So then I ended up going to bed, I want to say at like 12 o'clock on the Friday night, and I'm like, okay, this is fine. I'm like not super tired, but it'll be okay. I wake up at 3 AM and I'm like staring at the ceiling for like an hour, and I cannot get back to sleep. I desperately want to sleep. I'm like, I don't want to be tired for tomorrow. It's gonna be a miserable experience if I'm just like having a bad day. I don't know, like what do I do at this point? And then I just keep staring at the ceiling for like an hour, and I'm like, you know what? We gotta make peace with this. We're getting up now. So, you know, I do what I normally do before tournaments and just kind of stretch it out to a few hours. Do some more like a couple of games online to like kind of warm up for the day. Make a coffee, play with my cat, kind of go on with the day. Set her up to like kind of be at home all day by herself. And yeah, that kind of brings us to the day itself, and the second piece of advice that I should have followed, dress for the weather. Unfortunately, I thought the weather would stay the same as it has been lately in Australia, kind of like lukewarm, coldy like type of temperatures, not too bad. Like I'd be fine in pants and a work jacket. Unfortunately, this was not one of those days, and I don't know the exact temperature yesterday in Melbourne, but the store we were in, Fantastic, gets very hot on summer days, and this was one of the sunniest days I've seen in Melbourne in a very, very long time. I was a little bit perplexed by what I was seeing, honestly. So this was not like an issue, I thought, to start the day, and then as the day progressed, I quickly realized what a mistake kind of wearing all of this like heavy clothing was. And it really started to drag on throughout the rounds. That heat really kind of got to me. Like I went outside to take a break at one point, and I just like was like, oh my god, it's even worse out here. Like I can't believe this. This is like, I wish I was wearing like a pair of shorts or something. Like my life would be so much better right now. So definitely follow that advice. Check your weather for your progress. Go watch that video. Follow all the advice. I think I followed everything else to the letter other than those two things. Yeah, so we get to the venue, I kind of say hi to people, it's kind of like fairly chilled out. Fantastic's kind of like a bit of a central hub for Melbourne, it's kind of where Fab started in Melbourne, as it were. So obviously it's the first event of the season, so it's pretty packed. It's 37 people, which for the venue is like, venue's very small, so we were kind of like very crowded and cramped in, but like we kind of made it work, like we've done for other Progressive Internationals in the past. Definitely didn't make life easy, but it was a lot of fun. Using a squarish backpack was actually really helpful. I had my life counter on that pretty much the whole day. So yeah, I would highly recommend doing that. So starting with round one, I kind of sit down and me personally as a player, I get really bad anxiety going into round one or round two in particular. Typically, I've noticed my tournament performance really relies on how I do in those rounds, so kind of going from there. So I start round one, I'm playing against Mikola, he's playing KO. This is a matchup I've practiced quite a lot, so I'm feeling quite confident. Been playing it a lot with a lot of the other members on the team, and I particularly feel good about playing Kassai into this metagame because of the KO matchup and the Syndra matchup being so good. So we're kind of jamming it out. The game's going like pretty back and forth for a while. Mikola's using his armor very aggressively. I think notably at one point he scowlings me at a point and it just like hits a shelter, and I'm just like, oh, this is like fine. Like I'm just gonna master this and like move on with my life. It's like not the end of the world. Mikola runs out of armor eventually, and I'm just like converting my hands like really well, like this build of Kassai does. You know, just draw something every turn, using gold when I don't have it to kind of maximize my value every turn. Eventually, we get down to, I think I'm on 31, Mikola's on 19, but has kept full hand. It's Mikola's turn, and he goes, tail limb from limb, tail limb from limb. I think he discards show of strength on the first one. And then I want to say like Bear Fangs or Swing Big on the second one. I'm not sure exactly. I think it would have to be... Because he then, unfortunately, had to play a blue Vigorous Wind-Up off of a Savage Sash to swing for 20. Which kind of like spooked me a bit, because I was kind of like, oh my god, I was not expecting that, like out of nowhere. I was like getting fairly far ahead. He swings to 20. I like look at my armor and stuff, and I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? I look at my armor and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, alright, I want to use my armor early anyway, so I think I block with like Brave Forge Braces or something like that, plus like a card. And just take the rest of it, and I think I go down to 17, Mikola's on 19, but like I'm feeling okay about this trade. And then from there, I kind of just like keep playing aggressive hands and just like kill him out from there. Deck's very good at kind of like getting into that position as soon as your opponent runs out of armor. And I think there was blood on our hands somewhere along the way for like 5 that just kind of ended the game there and took full tempo. So we finished round one. I'm feeling a lot better. I think we had about 20 minutes before the next round. I kind of like drank some water that I brought with me and kind of just like reset going into the next one. I sat down to play against Luke. Luke is also the owner of another store in Melbourne that I'm a very big fan of, Luna Cards. Shout out them. Luke is playing Syndra. I'm kind of like very, very prepared for this matchup. I was expecting a lot of it this weekend. And I kind of sit down and be like, we just have like a very back and forth normal like Kassai Syndra game. I think I start first, which will be a bit of a theme in my Syndra games throughout the day. So we keep going back and forth. and then just eventually I just pull ahead on tempo. I think notably I got some free copper at some point from like a nil time to block, and that just kind of made my blood on our hands eventually come in for enough damage that the game just kind of ended. So now we're in round 3. My anxiety for the day has kind of ended. I was actually talking about James prior to the start of our game about the Gravy Kassai matchup, because I was like, we were both kind of just interested in feeling each other out about how we felt about the matchup. So we sit down to play. I will say the matchup felt like we were going very long, very quickly. At this point, I think we're starting to feel the heat as well. Like, I'm starting to feel the sweat really come down. I will say, like, playing in that heat really, like, made the day kind of drag on a bit. James is, like, doing a good job of trying to pressure me. I'm playing particularly blocky. I think we were, like, 6 turns in. I'm on 39, James is on 30. And I will say this was definitely where I made my first mistake of the day. I will completely own up to me being an idiot in this scenario. James swings with a scuba, but after like taking a bunch of other game actions, and I think he started with a ley line or played it somewhere in there. I completely forgot about this. So I say no blocks, go to reactions. I have a Fate Foreseen in an arsenal, a Sink Below in hand, a red draw swords, a red in the swing, and a red spoils war, and I only have a vigor on the table. So I'm short of like any pitch card, like a yellow or a blue will just fix my hand and I'm just like good to go. So I block with the Fateful Scene, and then James is like, oh, I'll take 2, and I'm like, wait, what? And then he's like, oh, it's coming for 6, and I'm like, oh, I'd like to Sink Below, and I'd like to like fix my opt if that's the case. So I fix my opt, and I put the card on the bottom because it's an unsheathed on top. And then I sink, and for some reason in my brain, me putting the Fateful Scene card on the bottom is the card I put on the bottom from Sink Below. So I just draw the card and put it into my hand, which is a Trot Along. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And I like look at my hand, pick it up, and then James goes, wait, you drew an extra card there. And I'm like, wait. And then I like count, and then I'm like, wait, yeah, you're right. So we call the judge. The fix is James gets to Thoughtseize me, which is like pretty reasonable there. He puts the Trot Along on the bottom, which kind of sucks. And then apparently I get to Sink Below again. Apparently that's the policy. I thought this was a little strange because the Trot Along should just like never be on the bottom, but I don't know. That's how policy is written, so that's what we did. James, of course, was obviously very much like being completely reasonable in his effect because the cards joined the set. So from his perspective, he doesn't know which card is on the bottom, which card should be on the bottom, and if the Trot Along was already in my hand or not. And obviously, I could gain advantage there, so I think the fix is pretty reasonable. I like do the sink again, and I swing the draw swords and draw another draw swords. Red kind of sucks. I think I like spoils a war, swing at the scuba to kill it, and then just pass the turn arsenally in the swing. We keep going back and forth from that point. In particular, I'm being very aggressive about blocking out any gold generation like a Vast E or gold baited hooked activations because James played 2 Loan Sharks fairly early. Or I think he played one out and then he charted another one into Graveyard, or Gravied it into Graveyard. And as soon as I saw that, I realized like as soon as James runs out of gold, it's going to be really hard for him to filter. He could hit some awkward hands. James hits like 3 in a row, and pretty unluckily by my part, we were actually playing like a very even game. James had like a Humperdinck Graveyard, and I was getting to a really low life total as well. I think I was on like 9 when the game started pivoting my way. And I land a Blood Follows Blade on a chum to clear it, and then James can't keep enough cards to answer it, and then the game just kind of ends from there. A bit unluckily on James' side, I will definitely say. So we finished round 3. I'm really rattled from that judge call. I was like feeling absolutely terrible afterwards. I was like, oh, like I just like hit like a really bad point of stress because of the judge call. We had like most of the room watching our game, and I was just feeling terrible about the whole scenario. I was like, oh, this fix felt really brutal. The game went like really long. James had to put up with me being an idiot, and then also having that happen. And I just felt so terrible. And then that's when my next round opponent, Emma, who's also an amazing player from Melbourne, she's playing Verdance. She actually says to me before our game, hey, do you want to go take 5 minutes outside and like catch your breath and stuff? It's completely fine. I'm sure the judge will allow it. Absolutely lovely of her. Emma is always super nice when I see her. Thank you again to her for being really understanding because I'm just like completely rattled at this point. I'm like sweating out of my mind. I'm like shell shocked because I'm like just so confused about like what's happened. I'm not playing as well on paper as I normally do. So massive shout out to Emma again. I'm playing into her verdants. She's on a very like kind of fairly normal list I've seen floating around at the moment. Notably, I think I pull off a Raisin Army X equals 2 pretty early, and Emma kind of uses. Notably, the key moment of this game I think is turn 1, which is really interesting. I go first, which is like what I prefer. I think I won the dice roll. What did I do? So I play a Sharpened Senses out from my hand to put a yellow in my graveyard, and then I pass priority. Emma plays a Everbloom Life on my turn to gain more life. And then I go, I think it's worth standing it here. I go pitch a blue, Spoils of War, Outland Skirmish, swing for 7. Emma has a D-React and a non-attack action to cover it up, I believe. No, this will be coming in for 8. Emma has a way to cover this up, essentially. I don't really remember what it was. And then I swing the Saber for 3. Emma has another non-attack action, I get blocked out. Notably, I have now put 2 Earth cards and an action card in Emma's graveyard, which it turns out was a very bad mistake. In hindsight, I think I was super greedy here in trying to get copper turn 1, and I think that was a really big misplay. So I don't get an Arsenal turn 1, Emma ends at like 38, I think I end up with some copper because I think I just connect with the first one. Emma chose to keep the armor, which I think is completely reasonable and a good idea in that scenario. And then Emma goes turn 0, Felling of the Crown, and I'm like, oh no. So I go back to my turn. I think I just do like a normal, I think I block. I said no blocks on this one. I didn't even block with armor, I just took the 4. And then I just like try to take tempo by swinging some cards. Emma blocks a bit, and then she plays another Felling of the Crown for 8 this time, and I'm like, oh no. So that was definitely the punish. I think I misplayed it very badly by doing that. From here, I kind of take the tempo. Emma is like playing very well and like blocking me out, denying my gold when possible, denying my Will Follows Blaze to be awkward, getting a read on when they're in Arsenal, for example. Emma drops a Ring of Roses at some point, and then Rootbound Carapace is to go to 8 cards and decompose, I'm pretty sure. She then decides to... She then draws the Heartbeat of Candlehold to answer the first Raisin Army, because those of you who don't know, Heartbeat of Candlehold gains 3 life, deals 3 arcane damage separately with Verdance triggers, and then when it deals damage to the Stealth Sword, it triggers Ring of Roses, which will gain another life, which will deal another damage. So you can use Heartbeat of Candlehold plus Ring of Roses with Verdance's hero ability to kill 2 Stealth Swords. She does this 2 turns in a row to clear me out, and I'm like, oh no, like... I'm like, oh, I felt very ahead in this game, but now I'm suddenly feeling quite behind. I think I Blood Follows Blade to make 1 more, and then raise an army, and Emma's just like playing it completely correctly. She played this game very, very well, I think, and just like blocks me out to deny my gold throughout the rest of the game. I think it comes down to a point where I'm like swinging at Emma, she starts the turn on 8, like blocks 2 cards, and I just like, I'm on 9, so if like I have a pitch card, if I have any pitch, I don't die to the Stormstrider's Waning Moon, which I'm like 99% sure she has a Light Abilities or Burn Bear in Arsenal to do that. Emma has like Burn Bear blue left. I like swing for 3, she's on 1. She's on 4, she goes to 1. And it's just like 1 damage short, I think, of like being able to end the game. And it goes back to her turn, pitches a blue, goes Burn Bear, Ring of Roses trigger, I like AB, goes to back to my turn, I just move to end, or maybe I swing. And then just goes Light Abilities from Arsenal to kill me. I go, yeah, fair enough, GG. It was a really close game, very, very fun to play. Double Heartbeat was like so backbreaking there. Emma made like an amazing call to dump out that Ring of Roses. We talked about it a little bit after the game. I think it was really smart play from her. And I think my turn 0 play was so sloppy when I could have just kept the Spoils of War in the Outland Skirmish for the next turn and just Arsenaled one of them and just like denied the Felling turn 0. So yeah, that was our first loss of the day and only loss of the day. I think in hindsight, yeah, just don't swing it like Earth Heroes turn 0. It's like a pretty basic lesson and I would typically not deviate. I felt the upside of getting 3 copper was worth it, but I think I got very greedy in that game by doing so. So round 5, I play into Max, who's playing Bolton. I'm like very psyched out at the start of the game because I'm like, oh, is he gonna present Decimated Great Axe? Because because there's a lot of Syndra in this room. I think there was 10 Syndras in our room in total out of 37 people, which was like super spooky. And I was like, oh, maybe he's on Decimator, and that's how he's like getting there. Maybe there's like some Decimator tech that like lets you just like tempo them with like 1/4 every turn. That's really hard to block. And I like think about it, I like board in my riches and my raisin armies and just play like extra cards, because I'm like, oh, even if I'm fatiguing, this is like perfectly fine. It doesn't disrupt my game plan too much. I have enough armor that like if I draw the riches on a combo, then it's like not the end of the world, like whatever, like let's just go for it. Max then proceeds to flip Lumina, and I'm like, not Lumina, Raiden, and I go, oh, never mind, we're just playing normal Flesh and Blood. Okay, I got way too deep in the tank. I did not need to present this many cards. So Max starts off so aggressively. I think Max had like 3 to 4 soul every turn, which was like kind of scary, like the amount of damage he was outputting. I'm like playing some fairly reasonable tempo hands back and forth. I take a lot of damage early down to like 27. Max is still on like 39 and then like uses armor to kind of like build a life lead that way. But once his armor runs out, I managed to kind of pivot and start using like draw sword effects and stuff like that that's above rate to kind of start dealing enough damage to get back in the game. I think it comes to a point where I'm on 16 and Max is on like 10 after my turn's done. Max goes to his turn, like swings out. I think I block with D-React from Arsenal, D-React from hand, another card from hand, and like the last of my armor. On Max's like big turn, I think I finished the turn at 12, and then from there I just kind of like close out the game with the remaining cards and go from there. But yeah, it was a super interesting game. I normally would just always fatigue in that matchup, but I kind of just was like, oh my god, has Max like cracked something I haven't seen? Like this is a very aggressive start from a Bolton deck that I'm struggling to block out. I was very, very impressed. I think the turn 0 charge Spirit of Arena also like really freaked me out. I was like, oh, this is much harder to play around than anything else. I was like, you just like force me to have the D-React and always save my Dynamos for the Lumina if this is the case. Just because there might just be 2 Luminas and then I might just like get blown out and die, which I think did happen one turn. I think I ate like 3 Luminas this turn, which was like 3 Luminas this game, which was like Lumina swings, just because it was like the best value line, and I was like, this is so weird. I was just really impressed actually by Max's bottom list. So we finished that one. I'm at 4-1. I now know I'm locked to top 8. We then to rewind slightly, after me and James's game, I cracked my signature Snickers as taught to me by Zach Gardner. The first of 3 for the day, and I think I burnt through these in these 3 rounds very quickly to keep myself alive, because I'm properly like burning out here. I'm boiling hard. I'm like so tired. I'm like not like thinking straight. I think my play is much more sloppy than I normally do. I think there was like, I don't think there was any like egregious misplays, but there was a lot of like, oh, I'll go to attack and then being like, wait, hang on, I'll activate Kassai first and stuff like that. Where like I'm not making misplays, but like I'm definitely being sloppier than I should be. So I go into round 6, I'm playing against Isaac Katakis, another insanely talented Flesh and Blood player from Melbourne. Isaac is a long time, like, I don't know, we've played so many games, like events like this against each other. I'm pretty like happy to see he's playing Syndra again. We dice roll. I'm going first again. I'm like, oh, this is gonna make it much harder. We go through the game and Isaac's deck just kind of like malfunctions a little bit, and mine kind of just hits the nuts. I think I drew like blue, spoiled, blade flurry, and it just like kind of the game ended from that point because I had enough copper that I could just block him out until I found the blood on my hands. And the game just kind of ended very quickly from that. I will say Isaac played it very well, but I think had the bad end of variance for sure. So we have a really big break for top 8 because there's a really long game going between Justin Lin, Australian national champion on Kassai, versus Damian Moss, my finals opponent, who will hopefully be coming on the channel soon to be talking about his Arachne Huntsman list, which has recently started popping up as like a really strong hero. I think that hero is very, very improved, so keep an eye out for that video if you want to like learn about it. So we have like a really long break for a while. I think I've been deck checked twice already, so like I'm kind of just like all like chill about like stuff like that. I'm like all ready for it. And then we go into top 8. I look at the pairings. I'm playing Isaac and I'm second seed, which is the 2 best possible things. Emma is first seed. I think she was the only undefeated going into top 8. I believe the bracket is Emma is playing Damian Moss on Arachne Huntsman. I'm playing Isaac on Syndra. Fahad Rahman, who you might know, is playing against Vincent by Jack, another local player of mine. Fahad's playing Syndra, Jack's playing Vincent, who was my semi-finals opponent. Phil, Justin Lim on Kassai, and Phil is on Boost Puffin, which is super cool to see do well at this event. So we go into top 8. Jack beats Fahad to progress as Vincent. I beat Isaac in another like fairly convincing game on my side. That was a bit closer, but I still had quite a lot of equipment left of the game, so I think I was fairly ahead. Not too much to say about this game. I think it's just Kassai being good into Syndra, especially when going second. I will say, I was like really in my head before this game started about drawing 4 reds that were like half the reacts, and then my hand not converting well going second. Because obviously I get choice because it's seeding. I like look at my hand and it's Fateful Scene, Sink Follow, Outland Skirmish, and Spoils. And I'm like, oh no, it's not Spoils, it's Blade Flurry. So it's even worse, and I'm like, well, shit. This is exactly what I didn't want to happen. I think I swing for 7 because Isaac just like passes turn on turn 0, and I'm like, this is not an ideal start to be sure. I like Arsenal the Sink Follow, move on. But yeah, just getting that 7 damage going second into the Syndra Kassai matchup is just like so broken, it's unreal. Phil beats Justin, which I think I've already mentioned, and Damien beats Emma after a very long, grueling game. I think Venice really struggles into Arachne Huntsman when piloted correctly, but like was super interesting to watch as a spectator since my game finished very quickly, of course. We go to semifinals. I'm playing Jack on Vincent, and Phil on Boost Puffin is playing into Damian Moss on Arachne Huntsman. Boost Puffin obviously has a really hard time into Arachne Huntsman because it's a fatigue deck with contract, and Boost Puffin obviously wants to be boosting where your cards are in the top of its deck, as well as spending some on making cogs, so its actual like damage in deck is not that high. My game versus Jack, I just deployed my normal game plan against Vincent and just fatigued him out. I think the game ended at like 17-1 because I just like took like 6 damage or something, and then just swung out for like 9 because Jack had just been taking a lot of incidental damage throughout the game. So I finished my game. Damien's game was going for a while. I'm just like taking my time and kind of trying to reset. I've consumed all of the backpack Snickers at this point. I can't refill my water bottle because the tap at Cardtastic is like angled kind of weirdly. And just before top 8 starts, the last bottle of water in the store got sold. So I decide I'm going to employ my strategy of just like burning it to the max, and I think I drank 5 Pepsi Maxes or something like in like a few hours. And I'm just like using the caffeine to keep me going. It's definitely a strat, and I will say after like how I felt the next day, don't do it. It's like, if you can stay clean the whole day and you can like keep yourself energetic, find a way to do that, because yeah, burning the high end in top 8 is really hard. So Damien finishes the game. We both take a break for like 5 minutes because you know Damien's obviously played like 100 hours of Flesh and Blood in that day because he's playing Arachne Huntsman, which he's been playing very well all day, I will definitely say. So we sit down for finals. I have highest seed because the only person who finished higher than me was Emma. I choose to go first, I believe, because I want to get a turn in where I kind of like snag some cards from hands with fatigue math and go from there. I think I use a precision press turn 0 or like something, one of my blue go against losses that suck to just strip like 2-3 cards from hand. Seems pretty good, fairly happy with the trade. This was like the most complicated game of Flesh and Blood I think I've played in like 5 years. It was like, there was 4 levels the game was being played on, and I was a little uncomfortable with a lot of them because Damien's obviously like played a lot more of the matchup on his side and like understands what's going on pretty well. I presented 70 cards, Damien also presented 78 cards. Notably, I did not include my Crown of Dominion and instead played Kabuto because I know Damien's on Regicide from watching his game with Justin earlier. Obviously, I'm very scared of like getting registered, and it's definitely something you have to worry about in this matchup if you play Crown of Dominion, and forces you to play the matchup quite differently. I think in hindsight, I probably should have just played the Crown of Dominion. I think maybe just like because they're blocking so much that you don't need to use your armor that much, and it's kind of fine. This is like a really weird game because to start out with, the Arachne Huntsman can't clear a Centauri Sellsword without spending a card or two from hand. But also saying that, they don't have that many cards in their deck that actually clear the Sellsword. It's like, because all the blues come in for 1, the daggers come in for 1, so they need to spend like 2 cards to do that. Before Graving Core gets reanimated, which they have to like make silver to do. And then like CNC costs 2 cards, like Codex CNC costs 2 cards, plus like a Tunic Resource. Leave No Witnesses costs a card, and Eradicate costs a card. So I think I made a really smart play earlier in the game, and just like, I think I swung for 7, I swung for 5, Damien blocks with, no, I swung for 4, Damien blocks with 2 cards, which is what he should do, but one of them is an attack action, so I got up to 5. I Blade Flurry it to deal 1, and then Blood Follows Blade it. Damien like tanks really hard and then goes, yeah, I'll take 1. I make the Sellsword, and then Damien's just unable to clear it for a few turns, and I build up a really good like life lead, but I'm also getting ahead on card advantage in deck doing this, and I'm also just like pressuring life total and stripping hand every time. I mean, Damien had 1 or 2 hands where he couldn't clear it like efficiently without taking too much damage. I think we finished this conundrum. I think I took 10 damage on his turn 1, so I'm at 30, he's at 21. And this is probably like, that spike probably won me the game, I think. Because the rest of the game, we're playing on a lot of different levels. Damien's playing on the level of like fatiguing me, obviously, and keeping his life total high enough so that when I raise an army, he doesn't just die to like 5 Sellswords coming through, and also just trying to disrupt my gold disruption. I get like my Imperial Seal out at one point, but I'm doing like, I'm gonna be real, I'm playing some really bad Flesh and Blood. I'm like pitching all my reds to swing blues, and I'm doing it intentionally. Because I understand that when this game goes to 18th cycle, if I don't have any gas left, and Damien just keeps 2 cards every turn to swing like a Codex CNC or something like that, I'm screwed. And Damien notably at this time, so I think all his armor is like notably gone. He like uses his silver to buy back the dagger that gets the +1 counter. I forget what the card's called, Graven Call, so that he can answer any future Sellswords easily. I think I take his Flick Knives on a pivotal turn. I also get my Imperial Seal down, which is the other big misplay I think I made in this entire day, and definitely something that like I look back on and I go, that was just strictly wrong. Now, because I'm not royal, because I'm not playing Crown of Dominion, Imperial Seal does just say crack it, defense reactions can't be played this turn. I think the card's worth playing in the matchup just because I think the card is very, very strong at like getting through on hits and also making sure your opponent can't play Hunt the Hunted at an optimal time, which I think is good. During this like weird blue attack block and trade that we're doing, where I'm like playing yellows and blues only and like not really touching many reds, Damien takes like a bit more chip damage. I think he goes down to like 8. I do a really weird turn, and this is like when I can kind of see like the game starting to change a little bit. I swing the sword, I crack the Imperial Seal, and I swing the sword, and I got really deep in my head, and I was like, nah, you'd always just like keep the D-React, that's the only way you can stop Bloodfellow's Blade. And then Damien does the very smart thing of just blocking with a concealed blade. And I think about it really hard, and then I go, yeah, alright, and I just Arsenal the Bloodfellow's Blade, into Blade Flurry in my hand, pass turn. Damien, I think, is not swinging at me because I think I showed that I had D-Reacts and I might have just clunked up my Arsenal by playing one. I think I played half this game with a That's All You Got in my Arsenal, which was incredibly smart from Damien. Notably, Damien has played his Remembrance and is on 24 cards, I think at the time that our judge like actively like noted it for us, and I was on 22 cards. But I knew a lot of these were reds, and I knew a lot of Damien's defense reactions were gone. Damien, during this like time period and kind of this long period between like the start of the game and that Bloodfellow's Blade turn, where I started inting cards, had used all 3 Hunt the Hunted, and I think I got a little lucky on these, but also part of it is also just my deck building. Damien turn 1, I banished 3 cards from my deck with Double Trouble, and 2 of them were Shelter. Damien hits the 3rd Shelter on one of his Hunt the Hunts. On his second one, he hits a Fateful Scene, which I'm only playing 2 of, and he just like takes the other one, and one's already engraved. And then the 3rd one hit Provoke, which I think I'd already blocked with 1, and the other 2 were still in deck. So I got kind of lucky on these. I think if they had hit like more critical cards, like obviously the risk of hitting a Raise the Army changes the game quite a lot and forces me to play very differently. So yeah, we go to like later in the game, and like the reds that I've been pitching all game, come up shortly after the Blood Follows Blade mishap I made, and definitely the worst play I made all day. And I like line up a turn, and I start the turn by pitching a blue to play a red draw swords, and then I play, and then I have a Blade Flare in hand, an Iron Song response, and Unsheathed. I think after drawing a card, I like play the Unsheathed, swing for 8. I mean, Damien like blocks 9 with 3 cards. The saber goes to 9. I Blade Flurry, Blood Follows Blade. Damien takes it. I make the Sellsword, and then I swing the second one for 4. Now Damien at this point has like been taking a lot of like weird turns where like I've had a Frailty on, and I've just swung 1-2 or like 1-1, and like just from playing my blues and like inting cards or just like blocking to like stop any disruption and any cards being taken from my deck. So we get back to this point, and Damien's on 5, and I have full tempo at this point because Damien had to block with his whole hand basically to not just like die and let me connect with the gold and the Sellsword on that turn. And Damien's on 5, and I draw my hand, and it's like I think the exact time was yellow draw swords, yellow slice and dice, red slice and dice, and a... No, I'm miscalculating that hand entirely. I think the hand converted to 17. Damien's on 5, I believe. So I think it's Blade Flurry, red slice and dice, Unsheathed, and like I red draw swords at some point in this to make my sabers free. And I think maybe I had a card in Arsenal or something like that. I think my hand converts to 17 basically, plus maybe 2 if Damien blocks with attack actions on my sabers. And Damien's at 5 at this point. He's just like taken so much random damage from like blues because he's, you know, obviously trying to like play efficiently and like not. If I swing for 2-1 with 1 saber, he doesn't want to like get stuck blocking it and take 9 from the second one and get like let a gold through. I think I have 3 gold at this point because I like found my riches again. I had 1 from my first riches and 1 from Kassai activation on that Blood Follows Blade turn. I don't have the Sellsword anymore, but I like look at my hand and I go, oh, this might be like overly aggressively, but if I just dump my hand here, I think I'm okay. So I just play out the hand, and Damien just like looks. I think he blocks 9 on the first one or something like that, takes some damage, and then swing the second one for I think it's 7. And he looks at his hand, and it's just 1 card, and it's Codex. And he goes, well, yeah, the game ends, and the game just ended. It was really interesting, and it was a long part of like pitching those reds at the start of the game in the hope that we would get like undisrupted hands because Damien is blocking us out, even with like blues and yellows early in the game. And I will say that was like one level the game was being played at. The second level was that level of like using the blues to force our opponent to block inefficiently and take cards out of their deck. The third level was like fatigue, which we were actually very even on cards going into those last few turns, and even if I didn't have enough damage to close out the game, I had the gold and I had 2 Raisin Army, at least 1, maybe 2 Raisin Army, I don't remember exactly, left in deck, so I knew I had enough go against sources too to close out the game that way, because as soon as I do it once, I just like strip all the cards from his hand, and then the extra level was also just like the level of like what Damien was doing for like Arsenal disruption and kind of I think the only card he swung at me for like multiple turns in the game was just CNC, because I think he had like a perfect read that I had that or you got like Sync Below or something in Arsenal, and we just like went back and forth like that for ages with me like swinging 1-2, him swinging a CNC, and then me just like blocking with like a card plus equipment or something like that just to like not die. But it was like one of the most interesting games of Flesh and Blood I think I've played. I think the Imperial Seal was a very big mistake, but I think a lot of like the weirder plays I made in that game paid off pretty hard in the end game. And I think I got pretty lucky with that like first turn or second turn Sellsword that like got me through the game by creating that life disparity at the start. But it was just such an interesting game of Flesh and Blood. I would like highly recommend people play that matchup if you would like want to like see like the depths of player skill that a Huntsman can do, because it's just like how they're responding to what you're doing is also just like such an interesting part of the game and kind of like what makes Flesh and Blood beautiful. So yeah, I think that's my full tournament run for the day. Obviously super happy with the win, super happy to kind of win my first Pro Quest of the season. Obviously a lot of really strong players at this event. I would like to highlight Isaac and Damien as like kind of unsung heroes of Australia who were incredibly strong. Isaac was like in top 32 of Worlds last year. Damien was in top 8 of our nationals this year on Slippy, and then also won the ProQuest Plus at Battle Hut in Melbourne last year. Both incredibly strong. Anna also like majorly like just one of the most improved players I've ever seen. She started the game like a year ago, maybe 2 now, and she's just like the height she's risen to like day after day is like just so incredible to watch. James also like he's definitely one of the best Grogi players I would say in Australia, and like definitely someone I always look forward to our games because I know I'm gonna like learn something even if I don't win. Luke, obviously my favorite store owner and like one of my favorite store owners. Sorry, I don't want to like be interested. Mikola always like a cool local I see around. He's always got like some interesting thoughts and brews going. Max is like the Bolton legend in Melbourne for sure. Like every time I play against Max, I'm like learning something about that deck I didn't understand before. Jack is one of my locals who started playing recently on Vincent. This was his first ProQuest event, and he made it to the semifinals in a really stacked room. And I was very impressed by his play and the fact he did so well for his first rated event. I think, and just really impressed again. Great effort. And yeah, so massive shout out to all my opponents as well for having to deal with me. I was really all over the place in some places, and I'm very sorry for causing a bit of a hassle in some of those games. I'm very sorry. Again, it was definitely a place of like lack of sleep plus heat does not equal a good time when you're trying to play Fab. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you've kind of enjoyed this tournament recap and kind of my anecdotes and thoughts about the games and kind of what it takes to kind of win a ProQuest. I would highly recommend reading my guide on Kassai the Golden Sand, which is linked below in our Metafy. I think that is probably like the best place to go if you want to learn about Kassai on a fundamental basis. And I think there's a lot of thoughts in there that like a lot of other Kassai players who are also playing at the ProQuest might not have thought about. But yeah, overall, super happy with the result, super happy with the pull. My last one was Code Frost, which felt pretty bad. LSS, please stop putting bad cards in the gold foil pool. But yeah, absolutely thrilled. Shout out to my my best friend at tournament, Snickers. 100% the play. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed kind of learning what a tournament winning ProQuest round looks like. Please subscribe if you want to see more content. Obviously, probably will continue to make more Kassai videos over time. Look out for our video on Huntsman coming out soon with Damien Moss. And yeah, thanks for watching.